Dave, Erik, and I tried to start something, and then eventually Dave went on to found Roblox, and Erik joined him soon afterwards. John Shedletsky would call out peak in-game players. He just would yell it out loud. Really, all our biggest hacks were from the user base. Some of it driven by Robux, but a lot of it was like, I wonder if I can hack this thing. So I always looked at it as just like smart people wanting to be creative.
Good day, Robloxians of the world, and welcome back to Creators on the Blox, a podcast dedicated to learning more about creators in the community. I'm your host, Pixelpug, and today I am joined by the 7th person ever to join Roblox, but he's definitely done more than that. I'm talking about one of the original developers of Knowledge Revolution, the platform that later inspired the Roblox we know and love today. He worked at Roblox for nearly 10 years and now went on to become a startup advisor and author of the book Impact: How to Inspire, Align, and Amplify Innovative Teams. Please welcome to the show, Keith V. Lucas.
Hey, happy to be here. Thank you so much. And thanks for buying my book.
Yes, absolutely. I just got this not too long ago. Haven't had the pleasure of reading it yet, but I did read the foreword and the introduction, and I gotta say, I am definitely going to be reading more of that. It's very, very, very interesting. But yeah, so thank you so much for coming on the show. It is an honor to have you here.
Thanks.
Yeah, everybody watching is definitely Roblox fans of the Roblox community, and they love to see some faces that they haven't seen in quite a while. So it's going to be really fun. But before we get into it, please remember to show some support to the podcast. If you enjoy the podcast, check us out anywhere you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube, of course. And show all the love to Keith for joining us today. I'll have all the links in the description per usual. But let's get right into it. So yeah, I guess we could start here because I know there's a lot of younger fans of Roblox here who may not be super familiar with your work. So before we get into it, would you mind giving like a quick little introduction just for people who may not know?
Sure. Why don't I just focus on my time at Roblox and leading up to Roblox, and then if you want to know more, happy to share that as well.
Okay.
So you mentioned Knowledge Revolution. I really loved my time at Knowledge Revolution. It's where I first got to meet Dave and Erik and Tim Ladua, who also went on to Roblox, and a bunch of other amazing people. It was Dave's first company. And the really cool thing about being part of Knowledge Revolution was seeing how from the real beginning of Dave's team building career, he really cared about who was on the team. He really wanted to hire really experts, and he wanted to actually also hire people who had the right values and then give them tremendous opportunity. And no one's given me more room for growth in my life than Dave. And so it's like really exciting to be part of Knowledge Revolution. And I eventually left there after we got acquired. And really, what's funny, and I knew it at the time, is that all I was really trying to do after I left was work with anyone from Knowledge Revolution again. And that was Dave, it was Erik, it was Tim Ladua, and it was others. And I really loved that culture. I thought there'd never be another company as great as that, and a team as great as that. And so I just kept looking. Dave and Erik and I actually worked multiple times in different combinations before Roblox, after Knowledge Revolution. Erik and I tried to start something, then Dave, Erik, and I explored starting something, and then eventually Dave went on to found Roblox, and Erik joined him soon afterwards. And eventually, in 2007, I reached out to Dave, and I wanted to start a company. I was really into financial modeling. It was similar. It's like I was thinking about the Roblox of finance, and Dave asked if I would want to join him and Erik, and that was an easy decision because I loved working with them so much. And so I joined. I was director of operations, Even though I'm an engineer and a product person, I basically joined to help Dave with everything outside of product and engineering. And eventually I handed off some of the non-product and engineering stuff to others. I joined product and engineering and eventually led the team and became chief product officer. And so amazing journey with Dave, with Erik, and with others along the way. And even though I thought you could never create a company as awesome as Knowledge Revolution, Roblox was really that next generation, that leveling up, that really coming together of a lot of things we learned at Knowledge Revolution and along the way. So it was a great journey for me, and I really loved it.
Absolutely. That's great to hear. I mean, your work has definitely left an impact, no pun intended. And it is honor to have you today. So let's break that down. I guess from the beginning, I'm wondering how did you meet David and Erik, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so I was graduating from Stanford with a PhD in computational fluid dynamics. So that was in Aero Astro. So basically, I wrote 3D. It's going to sound familiar. I wrote three-dimensional code to simulate fluid dynamics. So where Roblox is rigid body dynamics, my code was fluid dynamics. And I came out of there, and I was looking around for jobs, and like a really good friend of mine, Terry Dennery, was working at Knowledge Revolution. And he was working there because another good friend of ours, Paul Mitiggy, was working at Knowledge Revolution. So Dave graduated undergrad from Stanford and had a connection to it and was hiring people coming out of their PhD in mechanical engineering and aerospace. And so I got there through Terry. I started working with Terry on customer service. And eventually, after a few months, as I was wanting to make a decision about where I would end up, Dave asked me to join the physics engine team. And so I was one of the three people with Paul Mitiggy, Tim Ladua, and myself. We were the engine team and wrote the physics engine at Knowledge Revolution.
Awesome. So if you recall, what was the original goal of Knowledge Revolution?
Oh, well, that's a great question because it's a great example of what startups have to do and do well. And even if your startup is a game, just like what you have to do. So originally, Knowledge Revolution started as an education company. It was basically trying to take those physics textbooks that you would have, where you'd have these problems in 2D, and bring them to life. And I think the idea behind it, I wasn't there at the time, but the idea behind it was that if you're doing a physics, you're learning physics from a book, you're doing the one problem on the page, and you're done. But if you had a piece of software that was also 2D, and it looked like your physics textbook, you could do the problem, and then you're like, well, what if the wheel rolling down the ramp was bigger? What if I increase the friction coefficient? What if I change the angle of the ramp? You would learn a lot more, a lot faster, and you would enjoy learning because you're now experimenting and following your curiosity rather than being limited to the book. So that really was the driver of the educational arm of Knowledge Revolution. And eventually that technology also made sense for private companies, for engineering companies, companies like Ford and Boeing and others who started using a professional version of that product called Working Model to solve real engineering problems. And it allowed engineers, for the first time, really to very easily change or explore ideas very quickly, to do rapid virtual prototyping in a way that they hadn't been able to do, and really increase the speed of the whole design process for mechanical engineers. And eventually we turned that into a three-dimensional simulation that allowed a whole nother level of exploration.
Right.
So just to cap off my first point there, it showed how Roblox was Knowledge Revolution was inspired by this initial idea, but kept reinventing itself as it really explored different uses of the thing it was making to really explore a bigger and bigger vision of what it was doing. And that's really what a lot of great companies do. It's what all great products do is continue to grow to explore and serve different markets.
Sweet. Now let me check, because we do have some viewer questions that were submitted, so thank you for submitting questions. Got them printed on the wall.
That's great. That's great.
I'm trying to see if we have any questions about it. Yeah, no, okay. All right, I just want to see. I do remember some people asking, when it comes to Knowledge Revolution at least, I don't know if you were that involved in it, but in this field, but some people were wondering, because I don't know if you're aware, there is a huge amount of people who are actively trying to archive the early days of Roblox and pre-Roblox. And many people are wondering, I think, and I'm constantly trying to find any sort of playable version of Knowledge Revolution from that time. Do you have any?
I think there are. It's no longer called, you can actually look up the educational product, which is called Interactive Physics. You can look up Working Model 2D. And I think there's someone who still gets it working and still uses it. I've heard, and I haven't talked to him in a little while, but I believe that Terry Dennery, who works at MathWorks, and you can find him on YouTube doing simulation videos. I believe he and Paul Mittigi and maybe others were exploring and advising the person doing keeping Working Model 2D alive. But it's worth looking at that. I think there's still something going on, but I just don't know who's doing it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, just thought I would ask. That's definitely very interesting. And I guess after that, you said you left Knowledge Revolution, eventually found your way towards Roblox. Now, if you recall, do you remember what your main motivation was and what interests you into joining Roblox?
Yeah, so hands down, the number one, and everything else is a distant second, but the number one was the opportunity to work with Dave and Erik again. And as I said, after leaving Knowledge Revolution, I was very honest with myself that all I was really trying to do was work with some of those people again. It was a great experience, and I felt that working with Dave, working with Erik, we had such a real simpatico. And in fact, I don't know if many people know this, after Knowledge Revolution, we went to the movies together once a month, along with Dave's brother Greg. And for years, maybe once a month, every other month, we would just go to movies, and the stupider the movie, the better. And we'd have dinner and have fun and chat. And it wasn't about tech. It wasn't about anything. It was just about stuff. And then we'd go to a movie, and it would just be fun. And so we were friends. And but on the professional level, we were really simpatico. And I just wanted to see if I could do that again. So the minute they asked if I wanted to be a part of it, the answer was yes, and it was just like, let's figure out how. The other one, though, is that I really by then I was a father as well. I think all three of us were at that time, and I really liked the idea of bringing what we had done at Knowledge Revolution, which was education and engineering, and bringing that to a whole new generation of people in a different way that would still be educational, and it would still involve engineering. It would just be for a different purpose. And that was really important as well. And everyone I met at Roblox was really cool, so that was like the final reason.
Yeah. Well, after you joined, then you became involved. And remind me, what was your first job when you entered the company?
Yeah, I was director of operations, which meant I was head of customer service. I was head of outbound marketing, or inbound marketing, which is Google Ads. I was and when I say head of, that is like maybe a misnomer. I was responsible for, and I was helping with finance. I was just and business modeling and planning, and it was really a partner for Dave outside of product and engineering. He had Erik on inside of product and engineering, and he really was trying to get some help on the outside. And that's what I did. Anything and everything having to do with helping Roblox.
Gotcha. And so, okay, I like in the preface here, where you were talking about how you turned Roblox into an opportunity. Roblox turned crisis into an opportunity. Sorry.
Yes.
I think one of my favorite points that you put like at the end, right? Like you said here, you believed, you focused, iterated, but most importantly, finally, you had fun, right? Like you said, you had fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like what I do believe is a lot of what made, at least at that time, Roblox so special. It's fun, right? It's just the main goal is having fun. And I have a question here, right here. People were just genuinely wondering, because they love to hear these stories, right? Do you have any specific fond memories from those days with David or Erik, and everybody else you worked with that stick with you to this day?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun. So I want to I'll answer your question with like some stories from that time, but I want to address the idea of fun, because the kind of fun that Erik and Dave and I had with each other and in the company is a specific kind of fun, and I talk about this in my book, The Value of Fun. The counterexample is like, oh, we want to have fun, so we're going to put a foosball table in the engineering room, and we're gonna like, whatever, like every other thing like you can imagine that sounds like social fun. That was not the kind of fun we had or explored. In fact, if anyone suggested putting a foosball table in the engineering room, I would have been like, no. And I would have known immediately that Erik and Dave would have said the same thing. The fun we had was the inherent fun of the product that we were building. It is a fun product because it is, people can express themselves. There's a lot of juxtaposition of genres all mashed together. Like, I remember there was like, someone built a Roman Colosseum one time, and there was like a guy in a chicken suit in there. It's just like silly and fun.
Yeah.
And that was inherently part of the fun. It was what we were building. The other part of the fun was, and we all felt this, was seeing what the developers were doing and hearing about the success they were having. Like, that was actually fun. And the other part was being successful ourselves, accomplishing something, getting out of a crisis, working with great people. So there's a kind of fun you can have when you are working on something that matters with people who care. That is the kind of fun we had. I mean, there was silly fun. A lot of it I had directly more with Tim Ladua, but also with Dave and Erik. Erik would always laugh whenever I would get frustrated at something, or something didn't work, and I was on the hook trying to fix it or get it fixed, and it was like not like an engineering thing; it was something else. He just found my level of frustration really funny. We would all laugh and have fun at the end of a good week and what we accomplished. Dave is a really fun person to be around. So there was a camaraderie and all that. I would say one funny anecdote is, and I won't tell you exactly what we were figuring out, but it was on my first day. I was meeting with Dave and Erik, and by the way, Erik was hands down, like, always the front runner to getting something done. He never let anything get in his way. He was always really unencumbered by technological or technical issues. He would just figure it out and go. So the story is a little different, but it's not what he's normally like. But I showed up the first day, and we were talking about something that we wanted to do, and Dave wanted to do, Erik wanted to do it, but Erik presented all of the reasons why we like really legitimate technical issues for it being a hard problem. And I just heard what we wanted to do, and I was like, I think we just have to figure it out. And Dave was like clapping his hands and put his hands in the air and was so excited. And I remember Erik just saying, "Oh no, now there's two of you." And that was like a moment where all three of us laughed. And then like the magic of Erik is literally within a day or two, he showed us a demo of how he had figured it out. And maybe it took another couple of weeks to get it working, ready to roll out. But it was like he was like, "Oh, okay, we'll do it." So that was an example. That was an early example of us having fun. One other one I'll give you is early on, like my first week or two. John Shedletsky would call out peak in-game players. He just would yell it out loud because we were watching the numbers go up every day. And at that time, Roblox was growing 7% every week, which is a lot. I just remember him yelling out, "We've hit 5,000 in-game," and like the group of 7-8 people there were like, just start yelling and cheering, and that was fun too.
That's awesome. I mean, thinking about that then, when you guys were getting so excited about like those concurrent, looking at Roblox now, I mean, it's like, it's crazy. It's so
it is. It's really hard to understand.
Yeah, I bet. And I mean, did you even have like the slightest idea of like that ever actually happening, like ever reaching a scale that Roblox is today when you started?
Yeah, I can't say honestly that like I was sitting there saying, "Oh, it would hit like the numbers it hit." I didn't think about it quite in that way. Um, what I Here's what I did think though. One is I knew Dave had a really big vision. Like and I knew we were really far away from the vision. Like it looked like, okay, we can be working on this forever. And it would be cool to work on it forever. Like we would figure, like it was cool vision, but it was big. So I knew that it would, if we kept working at the vision, it would get big. The other thing I know about Dave is that, he doesn't stop. He doesn't quit. He doesn't give up. He really believes in what he's doing, and he doesn't let anything get in his way. So like problems, he'll just keep solving them. And he keeps raising the bar. So when we set one milestone, we hit it, and then immediately there's a bigger milestone. So I knew that would also take the company and Roblox far. The way that I thought about it back then is I didn't see any reason why Roblox wouldn't ultimately be just as big as any other platform out there. Because really every other platform is like a subset of Roblox. I mean, once you have a virtual universe with all of the creator tools that Roblox offers, once you have that, you really could, if you wanted to, you could build Facebook, or you could build this and that, and you can just build all these other platforms. So I just felt like there was no reason why Roblox wouldn't be as big as the other platforms. The one thing I didn't know at the time, or not know, but assert with high confidence, is that we would be bigger than than all the toy companies and the a lot of the kids brands, because we got to meet them and we got to see how they operated, and I saw how we operated, and I was like, no, there's no, they're not keeping up. So I knew we would be bigger than the toy companies.
Well, as somebody who has seen a lot of like startups, right? And you said both successful and non-successful. I'm sure you've talked about it in your book plenty, but just for here, what do you believe is one of, or if there's multiple, like the traits that with this team you guys had back then when Roblox was just starting off? What do you believe? Because teams are important, and that's something else you stress, and I totally agree, right? Teams, it is important to have teams that all motivate each other, great innovators. What do you believe, what traits made it possible for your team to succeed with Roblox?
So I think one of the at the core of it, and early on, we kind of talked about it, but it became more formal a few years into my time there, is the set of values at Roblox. And I don't quite know what they are today, but and I think the values that we asserted formally were captured the essence of how we operated successfully, but there were other things as well. I would say that, but just to back up, I frame your answer in terms of values and practices. So one is the ability to focus. Roblox, our ability to focus on something and push away other things that were also cool, good ideas, but our ability to come together and focus was really critical. Our ability to act with urgency, really, really critical. our ability to convert that urgency into speed, and actually execute quickly, really critical. Our inherent to how we operated was a spirit of iteration. If we wanted to be somewhere in 6 months, we'd say, okay, what can we do in 3 weeks? Could we do in 3 weeks that would kind of look like that? Not, just get us there. And then we could just keep working on it and make it better and better. And I would also say our ability to align. And this was something I really cared about, I know Dave cared about as well, is you really want on a team a group of people who are able to have ownership, who feel ownership in what they're doing, and who feel the autonomy to act. So they're not like always checking with everyone on what to do. But you need alignment. And Roblox was really good at this in that we could say, where do we want to be in 1 year? And like numerically and with the product and as a team. And then we would march there throughout the year. And as I've experienced other teams, this seems to be somewhat unique. I think it's part of in my book what I'm trying to help people do. But that ability to set a vision for the year and then to march towards it. We were still agile. If we learned something new, we would that changed our hypothesis. We would blow everything up and reset. But if we didn't, we just kept marching. And so this was like a really critical thing as well.
Gotcha. Well, let's transition to a more fun question here about that time. Because somebody is wondering, do you know any cool backstories to some of the first accounts made? Like Deanna, Claire, Jan, Matman, Chickens, Horsey, Scott, etc.?
I do not. Just to know about me and my role at Roblox and where I gravitated to. I was really an operational, execution-oriented person. I was the one or one of the people helping support the entire team to do what it needed to do. And so a lot of my effort gravitated there. And then the product effort, I was involved in a lot of things, but where I gravitated to personally, and I have stories I could share, is working directly with developers. I really care about the Roblox developer. It was like I was so excited for them and wanted them to be mega successful. That's where I put my time. Yeah, but I'm not, you should talk to John Shinletsky, who would know probably a lot about that. Matt Dusek might know a lot about that. But, I wasn't, keeping track of every... If one of those accounts hacked us, then I knew who they were. But unless they hacked us, I didn't know who they were.
Gotcha. Well, all right. I mean, no, that's totally understandable. I'm sure people hear this is somebody who worked at Roblox during the early days. They must have known all of these little tidbits. Right, yeah. Totally understandable. Now, that is a good point, though. You say you worked a lot with developers, and I'm just curious, in what ways specifically?
Yeah, so there was a when I became let's back up a little bit. Even before chief product officer, the developers were someone I always advocated for. I wanted to make sure they constantly had the tools and the ability to really just create the things they wanted to create and to be successful. So even before I became chief product officer, I was in internal conversations. I would advocate for more developer stuff. In fact, there were two things I programmed at Roblox. Probably neither is around anymore. One is our internal metric system. I wrote the math engine for our internal monitoring. So every click, every measurement, every server diagnostic went through this math engine that I wrote, and then was allowed us to do alerting and charting and things like that. But the other thing I wrote was, I think I wrote the first key value store that developers could access. So they could have persistent information across their games. And I did this much, under the guidance of Matt Dusek, who was really the architect of it, but I wrote it. And I think they've replaced it with something 10 times better now, because it had limitations. So that was like before Chief Product Officer. But when I became Chief Product Officer, I started engaging like strategically. Like I thought it was vitally important that I engage with developers directly. We put in a new head of developer tools, which was Simon Kozlov, who went from graphics engine to the head of developer tools. Worked with Simon, worked with Matt Dusek on the roadmap and all that. Obviously, Dave involved in everything, but the three of us worked on the developer tools. And one of the things I did more than once, and I loved it, is having a meeting, like a group meeting with developers who were interning at Roblox, just meeting with them to just talk about what was not working, what was in their way, and all that. And a great example of how engaging with the developers changed Roblox is when we were trying to go to mobile, we developed, and this is like another good lesson in product development. We developed all the technology needed to play Roblox on your phone. Like, it was working. But we realized that not a lot of developers were making games that were really good on mobile. And we also realized that a lot of the most successful games, when you played them on your phone, it didn't quite work, but developers didn't seem to care. And so I met with developers and I said, hey, why? Why don't you work on this? And I forget, I don't know who it was. I mean, he was one of the well-known developers at the time. He said to me, well, we will care when you guys care. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And he's like, well, there is no mobile sort, so we can't look at games that are on the phone. There's no mobile advertising, so we can't, like, when we do ads, we have to, like, it's just going to hit a web page, and, like, we want mobile advertising specifically for our mobile games. Some of the tools were not right, and we have no insight into how things are performing across the platform. So what I did is, after that conversation, like, I took all those ideas and we just worked on them. And within a few months, we had delivered on all those things. And one in particular was giving developers a dashboard of how much money they were making per platform. And that immediately showed, oh, your revenue, and this is like the amazing part of developers on Roblox, is you don't treat them like young people. You treat them like professionals. So, and which you should. This is like the key lesson that people who work at Roblox learn that other adults don't learn. If you treat young people like professionals, and they're ready. So we gave them the monetization, and they were able to see, oh, I'm making X Robux per player on my desktop game, and it's almost zero on mobile. I'm missing out on money. And so then what they would do is they'd play it on mobile and see the one bug that was making it hard to play. They'd fix it, and they'd get a bunch more money. So, like, it allowed, listening to that developer helped me realize that we as a company were not sending the strong enough signal that we cared enough about mobile, and that we cared about developers' experience on mobile. And that and by listening to that and following up on that, we did what the developers were asking for. And then there was a flood of games on mobile. And it would have gone much more slowly, our mobile success, if I had not talked to that developer and the other developers and listened to them and heard what they needed.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, they really do know what's best. They're the ones, right, created on the platform. Yeah. Awesome. I did have a question here. Oh, okay. I think this was kind of what I talked about earlier. I missed this question, but I guess this person's wondering more specifically, what were who were your inspirations growing up that moved you to Roblox, to work at Roblox?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I don't know if I had inspirations that got, like, the inspirations that got me to Roblox were Dave and Erik. I mean, that was the inspiration that got me to Roblox. But the inspiration growing up, so I grew up in the late 60s, early 70s. You know, I was inspired by 3 characters from the movies and TV. And that really was it. And each one of them, I understand today. I can see how I connect with each one of them in how I entered the world and pursued it. So one is Captain Kirk. I love Captain Kirk. I loved that he led a team of people and that the people were close and they really cared about what they were doing and they were like in a, live or die situations over and over again. That's exactly what Roblox was. It was this tight group of people. I was lucky enough to be a leader at Roblox. And so, like, that Captain Kirk thing that I just looked at as a young kid and just saw that person leading people and the team camaraderie, that really appealed to me as a young kid. Crazy, but it did. The second one was Batman. And I think that there is a real strong part of me that is very comfortable working behind the scenes and anonymously, and maybe prefers it, much like, Batman works in darkness, in the dark of night. So unlike Superman, who's out there in front of everyone taking pictures, Batman is behind the scenes. So, like, I think I identified as that I like to work behind the scenes and all that. And the final one, probably like the biggest one, because if you're 11 when the first Star Wars comes out and there was nothing like it ever before, it was a big deal. It is hard to understand what a big deal it was because everything before Star Wars sucked. Star Trek was great, but like Star Wars felt legitly like real.
Right.
So for me, it was Luke Skywalker. And I think this is the most enduring connection I have. And it does lead to Roblox in a way, or why I champion developers, is really the story of Luke Skywalker is this person who has no idea what they're capable of, who thinks they're going nowhere in life, who's really frustrated. And through a course of events, realizes who they are and has to step up and realizes that there's actually really greatness in him. And I think that theme, that there is greatness in each of us that we bring out over time, and that one of the points of our lives is to figure that out. I really connect with that. And I really think it's what I love about mentoring people as a leader, but it's also what I really loved about working with developers on Roblox is imagine a young person coming to Roblox, they play, they just start learning to develop. They don't know what they're capable of. They work hard because they're excited, they find something they really connect with, they invest a lot of time, they learn a lot, they experiment, there's ups and downs, they make a game, everyone says it's awful, they make another game, it's still bad, they make another game, now it's getting better, and they go through this journey. It is that same journey as Luke Skywalker, of someone who doesn't really know what they're capable of, but along the way they learn that there's greatness in them. And that really is at the heart of what I do now. It's at the heart of the book I wrote. It's at the heart of why I believe that the future really needs a lot of entrepreneurs, is we need people individually and in small groups just coming together and being great together. So I don't know if they led to Roblox, but they manifested themselves at Roblox really strongly.
Incredible answer. Yeah. Wow. Now, speaking of, learning along the way, I have to ask, is there any notable times that you can recall throughout your time at Roblox where you faced, either yourself or as a team, a hardship that was really notable and you learned something from it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to give you more than one example. When you mention the word hardship, the first thing that comes to mind is losing Erik Cassel. That really is a hardship. Nothing else at Roblox, and I would say also, even though we're not at Roblox anymore, in the last year and a half, losing Chad Flippo, who was also a core member of the team early on. Those are really hardships. And it was hard on his family. It was hard on the team. It was hard personally. I know it was hard for Dave personally. Major loss. So, the learning if there was any learning there for me, I would say there's one as a person and one as a company. As a person, I just learned a lot from Erik about what grace looks like in the face of mortality. Like, what an amazing person Erik was, and particularly as he faced this, like his death. Amazing grace, amazing courage, humor in the face of it, and that was just something I looked at and was like, wow, if I'm ever in the same situation, I hope to be even half that. So that was like a learning for me. As a company, here's the interesting thing. We couldn't, and with a person like Erik, you can't replace that person with anyone. What we had to do with Erik's passing is we had to build out entire teams of people. Like, we had to build a team, to more than one team, to do what Erik was able to do so quickly. And it's a lesson, a twofold lesson. One is to realize the incredible power of having someone like Erik on your team. And that can be Erik. Erik was like an outlier. Dave's an outlier. But other people from that early team, like John Shedletsky and Matt Dusek and Christina Shedletsky and other people on that team, like outliers. And the incredible power and strategic advantage you have with even a handful of people on your team like that. So you take that when you can get it. The other one is that in the face of, when you have people like that, you have to, along the way, build out support of that person, or you leave yourself as a company really at high risk. And so you have to, as someone as incredible as they are on a small team, on a big team, you need to elevate that person to being a guru helping others, not continuing to solely rely on that one person. So that's the hardship. I'm happy to talk about other things that didn't go well that we learned from. But that when you mentioned the word hardship, that's what I thought of.
No, absolutely. I would totally believe it. I do have to wonder though, like as you said, you did talk a bit about it. Like when the company was just growing, right? Just growing at such a crazy scale. Just how do you adapt with that? Like how do you manage that kind of growth?
Yeah, so it's hard. It's hard. So one is again, the more high caliber people you have on your early team before it scales, the more you understand what works and what doesn't on your small team before it scales, the more ready you are to scale. So if you have, as we did, a number of people, like 10, 11 people who were just really quality people who high impact contributors, and we had a clear set of values, we were able, that gave us a good footing on which to scale. Still incredibly hard. And the main issue is, how do you, with a company like Roblox, you're really trying to maintain two things as you grow in size of people. Your performance, how do you move fast, how do you maintain quality, how do you get stuff done, and your creativity. And you really need to do both of those things as you scale. And I'm, in case people are not aware of this, if I reference my book, all the proceeds of my book go to charity, and they go to charity to help young entrepreneurs. So if you know of a charity to help a young entrepreneur, just let me know. But I don't make money off the book. I'm doing it to try to help. So if I reference the book or quote the book, it's not me trying to sell books. It's me trying to help. The book is really about this fundamental problem that faces a lot of leaders as their team grows. That is the focus of the book. How do you go from a small group of people who work well together because you know each other and you've developed together and you have values, to try to do this at scale? So one, you have to have a clear vision and mission. It has to be clear to everyone. What is the world we're trying to create, and what is our role in bringing that world about? That's the vision and the mission. You have to have a clear set of values on which to build. You have to then, as you're growing, the way that we grew, that I led this, and so any of the failings that we experienced were under my leadership. I got it wrong, but I got a lot right too. It was trying to scale through small groups of people. So rather than having scale through centralized committee and super flat organization, which is really the trend right now. Everyone's going super flat. I liked the idea of having small teams that had a focused mission that were dedicated to that mission. So you could take Roblox and it had a mission, and then you can break that out into maybe 10 mini missions, and then each team was its own startup pursuing that mini mission. And you can imagine there's maybe some other stuff under the hood to support all of these 10 little startups, like common infrastructure and all of that. But 10 little mini startups, each pursuing mission. That was the main approach that we used. And it helps you understand, and when you think about that, how many engineers do you need? How many product managers do you need? How many different types of engineers do you need? How many infrastructure people do you need? How many of all that? And so you can kind of develop rough ratios based on, looking around at what other people are doing, but also this concept of 10 mini startups. And you get a sense of how to scale. And then we worked with each startup so that they were clear on their vision and mission. They had a strategy. They had goals. We all shared values, but they had goals. And that felt like a good structure on which to scale. And I think where the challenge came in was all of the glue that tied it together in making, sometimes it wasn't enough, and teams weren't supported well enough, and sometimes it was too much, and we were really getting in everyone's business too much. So that really was where the challenge was in the coordination of all these mini startups.
Gotcha. Fascinating. That's a great way to approach it, man. Now let's turn here real quick. Let's see some questions. Okay, yeah, we talked about this a bit, but I guess if there's any final things you had in mind, in terms of this, Dusk asks, any memorable moments during the early days of Roblox that aren't well covered that you wish to share?
Well, I don't know what's well covered, so I don't know that. Yeah, I'll tell one anecdote that really gets at the heart of maybe a group at Roblox that doesn't get as much coverage as product and engineering, but yeah, maybe there's two groups I'll call out. So one is, as I mentioned, when I started at Roblox, part of my job was being in charge of customer service and moderation. And so I worked personally with all the moderators and the customer service people. And I helped build out the first tools. I mean, there were some primitive tools. I introduced some slightly less primitive tools, but they were also kind of primitive. And then eventually they got really good. But what people, I don't know how much people know about the moderators and the customer service people on the inside, but these were a group of people who were like so dedicated. What they saw at times and had to deal with at times was really stressful. And not just the hours, sometimes the volume of stuff going on, I would always take it. I would always take this over the downside, but like creators, users, developers on Roblox are so inventive. They really were our chief source of hacking. Like I don't remember maybe now it happens, but I was never worried about like another country hacking us. The user base was much more effective than any other country. And really all our biggest hacks were from the user base. And it was just creativity. It was some of it driven by people wanting Robux, but a lot of it was like, I wonder if I can hack this thing. So I always looked at it as just smart people wanting to be creative. But this put on, we all had the sense that even though this was hard to work with sometimes, it was stressful, it meant we had an awesome community. So we all had that in perspective. But the stress of dealing with that really fell on first and foremost, on customer service and moderation. And they just kept working. They were really positive. They really respected the community. They were always trying to find solutions that helped people. They, when one member of the community may have been harmed by another, or in any way, someone figured out a way to cheat in the game, so someone else was like, oh, I lost. They were there to help. So they were there at the very beginning. They were there through every upturn. They were there through every challenge, and they really are the backbone. The other team I'll call out quickly, and I talk about this in my book, is that you really want innovation everywhere. You don't just want it in product and engineering. You want it everywhere in your company. And a great example of this was the finance team at Roblox. The team, when I was there, particularly in the second half of my tenure, the finance team came up with some amazing models to help us understand how we were growing across the world, how our revenue was divided up, seasonality, other things. And some of these things were really, really hard to figure out, but they figured it out. So they were not like a team, like the innovation at Roblox was not just product and engineering. It was everywhere. And the finance team kept coming up with different ideas and models that really gave us dramatically good insight into what was going on. And one example of that is I was recently talking to Hans, who's like finance person extraordinaire, and he and I talked many, many years ago about the seasonality of Roblox and how it seems to change not just over the course of the year, but over many years, and there just seem to be repeating patterns. And I said, in signal processing, you'd use a Fourier transform and you'd signal process this to figure out what was really going on. And I met him recently, and he said, by the way, we finally got into the Fourier processing. So they are innovating on the finance team, and it's just a great example of how innovation can happen everywhere in a company, and should.
Right. That brought up an interesting point with moderation. That I would like with hacking and stuff. That's a great way to think about hacking. I do got to say, never thought of it that way. But it is very true, and I don't know if you recall too much, but the most infamous case of a hack on Roblox that people still talk about to this day is the April Fool's hack of, I think it was 2012?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Can you share a bit of what that was like?
That was really that was really at the center of a lot of my work. So when you want to know where I am and why I don't know what character so and so is because that's what I was doing. Gotcha. So if I remember, and you can help me, I remember a lot of what was going on. But is that the one where they figured out our security on our test sites was not as good? It was not at production level. They figured out how to log in as an admin on the test site, and then got the cookies somehow and replayed it on the prod site, and now we're admins on the prod site. Is that the hack you're talking about?
I believe so. Yeah. It definitely involved. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So that was like, that was an all hands on deck. And what, like, let me. Yeah, I can give you a lot of information on this. So like, here's like the team was internally rapidly came together, all hands on deck. We were working like this week. These were all nighters. Maybe people went home for like 2 hours or 3 hours, but like you really couldn't, because the one is the hack impacted the economy. And so that was the one hack that was worse than any other hack. I don't mean the April Fools, but that was the type of hack. If you impacted the economy,
right,
it was bad. Because there's real value in Robux. And this was even before cash out. People had the Robux meant like the value of their assets they had bought, what they were making in game. It was, they had bought them with US dollars. It was real. And so it was also at the heart of where a lot of really, I think, significant user pain would be, is if you lost your Robux or if you lost your virtual good. It was real harm to users. And we all knew it. And so this was a red alert. And the other thing is, it was not, people kept hacking. Like, it took us a while to figure out the source of it. And so it was stressful in that regard. Like, you couldn't give up because it was still happening. And so like you just kept bleeding. So it was like you had to like really be all in it. So it was really stressful. Part of it is we also didn't know, when we didn't know what caused it, we didn't know where the hack was coming from. We started being really, really careful. Like we're like just to give you an example, we didn't even want to share give a password to something. We would like verbally communicate it. Like it was like we were that scared of like, where is this coming from? Like, and someone could have hacked the internal network at Roblox. So like, until we knew what it was, we couldn't trust any piece of equipment we had, really. So that was like the setting. That was the stress. That was how we felt. So let me tell you what we did. So we formed like a team of like all of the people who could help on this. And we all were in one room. And it was understood immediately we would all be there until we figured it out. And ideas, I will say, really good ideas came from everyone. And, Dave was obviously involved, Erik was involved, but everyone was having ideas about where did this come from. Other people, people were all investigating on their own what was the cause and all of this. I think we also shut down the economy. I think that was one thing we did. I think it was that one where we just said, look, we have to shut down the economy, which we didn't have an ability to do. So someone had to write code to create a feature to shut down the economy, and then we shut down the economy. And we even had to do that in a way that we felt was hard to hack. Meaning, we still didn't know what the cause was, so we had to come up with a way to turn off the economy that would be really, really unlikely that the hacker had access to this. Mm-hmm. So it was a big coming together of a lot of people involved, maybe 10 different people, all in the same room, all brainstorming, individually investigating, and then coming together constantly about ideas, this and that. And someone would find something and say, hey, could it be this? And then someone else would investigate, no, it's not that. Mm. So it was really great teamwork. There wasn't, I don't remember who figured out where it came from. I will also say that even though a lot of this was back-end web stuff, mm-hmm. the client team also got involved to try to help figure this out. Because we didn't really know where it came from.
Right.
And if not on this hack, then on another hack, client team members could have help figure out a web hack. And sometimes a web team member will figure out a client hack. Mm. So, so this was all hands on deck. We worked round the clock. We turned off the economy to really stop the bleeding. We knew that if that economy was turned off for a long time, it was really compromising a lot of the Roblox experience, and that if it went on too long, people might not come back to Roblox. So we had to work fast. Eventually, what we realized the hack, and the hack was that, and this turns out to me, by the way, since that hack, whenever I hear that someone has a test site, I'll ask them, hey, how do you do blah, blah, blah? And everyone does it wrong. I haven't found, maybe I'm asking the wrong people, but it seems like no one really thinks about this so much. And that's why our audience at Roblox is great. Right. We realized, it was the test site. They were able, the usernames on the test site for the admins were not taken yet on the test site. So if the username was me, Keith, Keith might not be taken on the test site. So someone could create an account, Keith, on the test site. And then they can take that, somehow replay that cookie or something on the prod site and log in as me. And then all of our admin tools were on the website. If you had the right account on Roblox, certain privileges, you just went to a different part of the website, of Roblox website, and you had all the admin tools. In retrospect, it's totally stupid. But I see people doing this today. So the biggest lesson here was learning, one, any public site you have to treat as a production site from the perspective of security. And two, you have to always separate out the admin tools from the core user experience. And I see people in companies making this mistake today. Yeah. There's a lot of places where if you had the right privileges, you can bring up admin tools. So that was the other thing we did, is once we figured it out, the team separated out the admin tools in a day. In a day, there was a new website up and running. Maybe it was, I think we moved really quickly. And we got the admin site up and running. We stripped it all out of the prod site, and then we were able to come back, and the hack was over. Because we closed up the hack, but we also there was no way anyone, no matter who they impersonated, could ever access admin tools again. And then we also made sure, of course, that the admin sites had really high security. The last thing, and this gets back to the point about moderators and customer service people, is they unwound everyone who was harmed. We went in and we went in and we looked up. I think Matt Dusek was the one who did a lot of this forensics. Maybe someone else as well. We looked and found out, we reviewed all of the Robux transactions that had happened during the hack, and we were able to find the ones that were abnormal. And then what happened is they had to go through manually, and people got their virtual good back, they got their Robux back, and you have to understand that this is like, if you're in Roblox and you steal 100 Robux from someone, you can spend that 100 Robux on 100 different items at the time in seconds. And so you had to wind, like it was a spider web, and people had to forensically figure out what the spider web was, and then they had to wind it back. So it was an incredible amount of work.
Yeah.
And I think it points to one other thing that Roblox did, that in terms of being able to grow like it did, it didn't just fix the hack and say, hey, everybody, sorry. Well, we fixed it. It's okay now.
Yeah.
We did our best to make good on that hack and make people whole again. And so people still talk about it because it was a big deal. I'm sure we missed a few people, but you see so many examples today where platforms don't seem to care about their audience. And it's just like, yep, we upgraded the Sonos app. It doesn't work anymore. Sorry, your equipment's bricked. All right. Roblox didn't do that.
That's good. Yeah. I that's always what made Roblox so special. And it is fascinating because there is so many like cases in history that I think about where it's like, there's in retrospect, it's like, man, I'm sure you think it like, why do we do that, right? But then you learn from it. I can't remember. I interviewed a while back somebody named Bad Graphics. I don't know if you're familiar.
No, I don't know.
So he, long-time developer on the platform, and I think he was known first for like becoming on the platform. He was able to become friends with like the John Doe and Jane Doe accounts by like copying, I might be butchering this, the get link or go or something like that to send a friend request, copying that and then just like accepting it somehow, like this little like tidbits. And it's so interesting to see how that's how it used to run.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Roblox community gave us an invaluable education in security that I think many companies did not get. Like, if you're a gaming company or social platform and your main audience is 20 and above, you'll get hacked. But not like if your audience is like, 11 to like 17. Like,
right.
You're going to get hacked pretty badly. And so we learned a lot. I think we, I think we really did. We like, it might not seem it at times, but we really did try to think about, okay, this community's like smart and creative, and we got to outthink them on security. and we really put a lot of effort into that. But you can't get everything right, and so then the community would show us what we got wrong, and then we would fix it.
Absolutely. All right, let me, speaking of the community, run through some of these real quick. Um, okay. All right, yeah, a lot of people ask this, so I'm not sure how much you really know about the current state of Roblox, right? A lot of people are wondering how you feel about how Roblox has changed, I guess, more visually, but also as a company, right? So, like, it used to have people here saying have a colorful, bright style. Then it turned into, as you know, a more gray, more the
Yeah.
sleek looking. And people are just wondering how do you feel? Because it definitely contrasts with how it was when Roblox started.
Yeah. I would, I don't know exactly how it looks in this moment, but I know what you're talking about. I know that, the logo went from one logo, the word Roblox with like cartoony letters, and now it's like, black and silver and all that. I would say that, and this is just my personal opinion, the the colorful thing at the real beginning, I don't know if it reflected the maturity of and I'm talking 8 to 15-year-olds.
Mm,
I don't know if that colorful thing reflected the maturity of the young people on the platform in some ways,
right.
and that like aging up the style a little bit to really reflect where young people are going, not where they were, makes sense to me. Where it like if it goes like super dark and some of that might, again, I'm just like speaking off the top of my head.
Hmm.
I still think of Roblox and I'm not sure it goes by this idea anymore. But the thing that really resonated the most with me was the idea of Roblox as an imagination platform. And I'm the darkness feels more like a gaming platform. And so I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just that's I think it had to age up
Right.
a little bit in style to reflect where the maturity of the young people and where they were going.
Hmm.
I think it depends. The color choice today really depends on what Roblox thinks it is. I still think of it as an imagination platform, and so I might not go super dark.
Okay. I guess this is just more broad than in that topic. Somebody said, "Hi Keith, I'm Cable. Been playing Roblox since 2010. I would like to know, was Roblox always destined to become what it is today?" I think we touched on that. And then they also asked, "Do you have any objections for what or how Roblox is doing today in any aspect?" And he said, "Thank you."
I mean, I don't really keep up with what Roblox does today.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I can tell you one thing that I went towards the end of my time at Roblox. Um, I I loved the idea um, of not embedded, but like native advertising. Like if there was a brand like Nike who wanted to make virtual Nike sneakers,
Hmm.
I love that idea because you can imagine Nike, you can imagine Patagonia, you can imagine uh, all the other brands that are kind of fun that you might wear on your avatar or you might use in game. I like the idea of the sort of native native virtual goods as functional, even like golf clubs that maybe are different. Like one kind of golf club works different than another.
Yeah.
I love that because it adds to the value of the game. It adds to the value of the experience. That if there are these things there, then on the one hand, players now have a much broader way of representing themselves. And developers have ready-made things that they can add. Like imagine if there was like golf clubs and baseball bats and other things that actually kind of performed, skateboards, and that performed like with differences depending on brand. You now have that available to you in game. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And you can put that in your level and you don't have to make it. So I love that. This is my own personal take, I was against every other form of advertising. I like advertising to make the experience better. I don't like advertising strictly to monetize people. I'd rather try to figure out how to create. If you're looking at revenue or something else, I'd rather be more creative in providing more ways for people to spend money on Roblox than on showing them ads. That's just my personal bias. So I don't know what it's doing now, but that was my position towards the end of my time at Roblox.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, towards the end of your time, then you ultimately moved past Roblox onto other greater endeavors. So I'm just wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing what kind of led you to leaving Roblox and pursuing what you did afterwards.
Yeah, leaving Roblox was probably the hardest decision of my life, and I really took months to make it. And I loved it. I loved the team. I loved the experience. I knew that Roblox would be around for another 10, 20, whatever years. Like, it was going for the distance. I also left at a time I was comfortable with everyone I had hired. I had hired a bunch of vice presidents in product and engineering, and there was a really great team. And so, there was always more for me to do, but on a day-to-day basis, there was so many capable vice presidents and directors and things like that I felt the organization was in a really good place. I would say the real reason, or not real, but one of the dominant reasons that I left is that I'm like a little bit of a wanderer. I'm an explorer, and I also don't like to feel comfortable. And I had been at Roblox 10 years. I had helped build the whole team. I was enjoying a position of authority and responsibility, but also people. And you could tell when new people would meet me, it would be super easy for me to me to make them feel bad because maybe I was a little too quick. So I had I was realizing that and someone told me that leaders when the team gets big enough are symbols also in addition to everything else. And so that symbolism, being a bit of a symbol, made me just feel a little too comfortable. And so I'm an explorer. That goes back to the Captain Kirk part. I wanted to see what else was out there for me. I wanted to see who else I was, what else I could become, and that really, there was just this drive to want to explore, and I did it without knowing what I was going to do, and I think the hard part was that I just really enjoyed what I was doing. So I really struggled with leaving. But yeah, I did, and you know, I've gotten to do some things I would never have been able to do had I stayed. And I think had I stayed, I would have done some things that I haven't had a chance to do having left. But I yeah, I think being true to myself, I had to just like a good company disrupts itself and then figures out what's next. That's what I had to do to myself.
Yeah, you knew the time was right, and
Yeah.
went on to write this.
Yeah.
It's right here. You want to tell us a bit about how this book came to be?
Yeah, let me first tell you all, and I mentioned that in the all the money goes to charity, so it looks like I'm not selling books
Oh yeah.
to make money.
Mhm.
There are a lot of Roblox stories in the book, so it's not just one, it's not just two, there are a lot, and so. Uh, So if you love Roblox and you want to find more Roblox stories, you can get the book and you can find those stories. Um, the but why did I write the book? So in a really good way, I felt called to write it, and I don't mean that in a religious way. I just mean that after I left, I went to work at Instrumental for 2 years as COO. I loved that. And then I left there and I did other things. And I just kept thinking I need to write this book. And I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a business that I'm trying to support. I didn't even know when I started writing it who it was for. What I had a need to do, what was drawing me, was I had a need to write down what I learned and to make sense of it all. What did I actually think about team building? Why did I think about it? What was my perspective on things that I had learned? Like a way of digesting my career. And team building was probably the main thing I did at Roblox. It was the thing that I thought about the most. Did we have an effective team? And so it was natural I kept thinking about it. And so it just kept calling to me. And as I started advising companies and working with a lot of other companies, I realized, I keep telling people the same thing. So I just started writing the book. And along the way, it became clear to me that I was writing it for people like me, people who became a leader for some other reason. Like I was a good engineer and a software engineer, and then and I was good at product. So then I got involved, and I had some good instincts as a leader. But I couldn't have become chief product officer without learning a lot of other things along the way. And so I wanted to write a book for people in that situation, which is a lot of people, where you don't come from leadership school. You're doing something and you have to be a leader. And so it's an end-to-end book on how to build teams in an entrepreneurial setting. And at the highest level, there's a way of looking at the team, and there's a way of looking at individuals. And what do you need to do at the team level for everyone to have a great environment for creativity and performance? And then what do you need to do for individuals in order to help them achieve their best? And that's really what the book is about.
Well, yeah, definitely, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to get yourself a copy, because I know a lot of you are Roblox historians out there. But yeah, and support young entrepreneurs. That's incredible. So links are in the description. I will say, I am very looking forward to finishing this book myself, because I mean, based on the first few pages too, I I'm like an aspiring filmmaker, and I read a book called Creativity Inc. by
Yeah,
Ed
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Catmull. Yeah. And I mean that book, man, right. So it's just like that, right? Building teams, and inspiring and just leading. It is such valuable knowledge. And I just can't wait. So yeah.
No, that's great. And the thing I've heard about uh, aspiring filmmakers
Mm.
is the most important thing is just to make a lot of films. Like
Yeah.
just short films, any film, just keep going, write stories, film them, and just do it over and over and over again. Like if you were a game developer, you'd just make a lot of games.
Right. Right. Yeah. Constant output. Yeah. All right.
Well, good luck with
Keep that in
that.
mind. Thank you. Yeah. Well, let's move on to our final question here. Oh, actually, no. Before the final question, somebody was wondering. Okay, somebody asked, "Were you in charge of the Roblox Stars program and toy line?"
No, I was not. I am a toy.
You are a
you
toy,
can
that's right.
find the Keith toy. I don't think it goes. I don't think it goes for very much because really, like, people are not looking for an internal operator as their like toy person. But you still. I have mine. But,
Yeah, it's awesome. I actually that does bring up a good point. People are wondering your avatar. What inspired your avatar, your outfit?
All right, so I think I'm wearing like cowboy chaps. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I was there. I didn't work on the feature, but like my first month there, I think, is when we released shirts and pants. And so I just started making stuff I liked, and I think one of the first things I made was like a camo shirt and pant. And I think it was, because I loved G.I. Joe when I was growing up. So I made camo. And I looked, like for years, my camo shirt and pants was the number one selling camo shirt and pants. So like I made, rightfully so, as like employees were not allowed to ever cash out. But I made so many Robux and tickets from shirts and pants. It's crazy, from my camo. But I also made that, which I really loved, is the cowboy chaps. And so there was that. And then the reason I'm wearing VR goggles is as chief product officer, I really, I was overseeing the VR effort. Our one that started like in 2015 or 16 when VR was having another moment and we decided to like try out Roblox VR. There were a number of other product managers working on it. I think Deepak was involved and Dan, but I was the executive, like leading the charge on that VR thing, and really involved in the design of the user interface. Not the designer, but just as a product person, really involved. And we were like, we want all of the UI to be like 3D. We want to like have actually like a little Roblox navigation on your wrist that you can see in 3D so you can jump to another game. And that VR user interface became the sort of kernel of what the generation of in-game UI became after that. So it was really a fun experience, and so that's why I wear the VR goggles.
I love it. Yeah. Well, all right. Our real last question here. I thought it was pretty neat. Bia Trufa, somebody who actually helped on the show, says, "Hello, Keith. A while ago, my Brazilian friend told me you were in her school for an assembly or something like that. Can you tell us about what you usually talk about in schools and why?"
Yeah, it was 6 months ago, in March. I actually met with young entrepreneurs in Brazil, in Rio, a few weeks ago. But I was there in March, visiting my friend who works in the U.S. State Department there, and when they heard I was coming, they said, "Hey, we want to do some events with you. One, because you worked at Roblox, and a lot of young people in Brazil love Roblox, and the other one, just my entrepreneurial experience as an advisor and whatever. There are a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs in Brazil, and so I got a chance to meet with a class." I did another one at the embassy, meeting with embassy kids, and then I got an event with entrepreneurs where we did a rapid advising of local entrepreneurs. So the class was awesome. I'll tell you my favorite, the one question I remember that was awesome. But you asked, what did I do? So what I do is, for a class like that, I think they were in middle school, I'm not quite sure, maybe early high school. One is the teachers told me what would be meaningful would be to share my personal journey to Roblox and to talk a little bit about Roblox. So I shared my personal journey. I showed how my education led me to be able to, led me directly to Roblox and allowed me to contribute to Roblox in the way I did. I shared a couple of things that happened along the way, like the launch of Shirts and Pants and a few other milestones. And so it was a little bit of a Roblox story, and it was a little bit of a here's someone's career path that you might not have really thought about. And so, yeah, that's what it was about. So, yeah, hello to your friend in Brazil.
That's so cool, yeah. And Brazil is such a beautiful country. I've been multiple times to see family down there, and that's incredible.
I love it. It's it is. I've had probably, and I've had the pleasure of going to Italy and France and all that.
Wow.
I think I might have had the best 1 week of eating in Brazil that I've ever had. And amazing food, amazing people, really dynamic, vibrant culture.
Absolutely. Well, Keith, as we wrap up this episode, can you tell us just a sneak peek, what's next for you?
Right now, yeah, I can. So right now, I would say I'm really noticing that I am like at overcapacity. I mean, and again, a lot of my work is a chunk of it is pro bono because I want to help people. But like I'm lucky right now. I'm working with some amazing startups. Really proud to be part of them. One in education, one in late term, older healthcare, others as well in tech. So excited about all of that. And as I look to next year, I'm trying to figure out what I know I want to do is take a lot of the learnings in the book and try to make them a bunch of small things that are easy to digest. It could be a bunch of mini courses. It could be a variety of things. And so I want to figure out ways to make the material more accessible to people. And again, my plan is that it would all be free.
Absolutely. Well, what final thoughts and words, I don't know, anything, what would you like to say to the Robloxians of the world today before you leave?
Well, first of all, thanks for being Robloxians. It's great. I'm really thrilled to be on this podcast with you, and I like working at Roblox, but even bigger picture, working with the Roblox community. One of the biggest honors and pleasure of my life. I am happy to reconnect here and say hi. You all have had a big impact on my life, and I'm always happy to see, to know that I'm part of something that has had a big impact on your lives. Yeah, keep building, make some really cool stuff, and have a lot of fun.
Most important of all. Well, thank you so much for joining the show today. It's been an honor to have you on. We really appreciate everything you've done for the community, Roblox, and much more.
All right, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, thank you. Before we leave, can you say one final thing real quick, just to sign us off? Can you say, we'll see you around the blocks?
We will see you around the blocks.
Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.